Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you have joined us for today. On behalf of AI CoreSpot, I welcome you for today's webinar panel discussion, which is themed around transforming insurance claim with generative AI. We are thrilled to have attendees from all over the world joining us today. Now, to begin with, let me introduce myself and the company. My name is Arvind Kannan. I'll be your host for today's webinar. Joining me, Nitin Naveen, who's VP Innovation Strategy at AI CoreSpot. And we have a great couple of colleagues, Archana and Naveen, who will be assisting in this webinar to keep this discussion lively. In this webinar, we'll delve into the groundbreaking impact of generative AI on the future of insurance claim. The technology has potential to revolutionize the industry, boosting both efficiency and customer satisfaction. Before we dive in, let me provide you a brief background about AI CoSpot. We have been on a mission for over 3 years ago, and our aim is to be number one AI-driven community all over the world. The focus is to provide deep dive into the sectors wherever the technology plays a crucial role. Every month, we are exploring different themes, bringing together a like-minded people like yourself to share knowledge and drive growth. We aspire to be your one-stop shop for Industry 4.0 technologies. We'll continue to do industry-packed webinars and hybrid events. The knowledge repository will be made from the reliable data through industry thought leaders and subject matter experts. We'll enrich the digital content through videos, blog, podcast, newsletter to shed the light on ever-evolving industry. To stay updated on upcoming webinars and resources, please visit our website, aicorespot.io, and follow our social media handles, which will keep you all updated on what we propose to offer in coming months. And special thanks to our community partners, which includes One America Financial, Kinsale Insurance, Marsh McLennan, and InfoVision for their invaluable support in making this webinar a huge success. We are excited to have a panel of industry experts who will share insights on how generative AI is revolutionizing insurance claim processing, offering attendees a unique opportunity to discover the latest advancements driving efficiency and customer satisfaction in the insurance sector. Further, if you have any questions, you can type in the Q&A section, which is there in the bottom of your screen. Now let's introduce our panel speakers one by one. Kamlesh Chaudhary, Senior Director of Digital Strategy and Automation at One America Financial. We have Gaja Kannan, Director of Technology Architecture at Kinsale Insurance. And we have Srinivas Kadar, VP of Global Data and Analytics at Marsh McLennan. And the last speaker, we have Brett Fish, who is the Associate Vice President at InfoVision and the moderator for the panel discussion. As a quick disclaimer before we start, the views shared by the speakers are the personal one, and it's not related to any organization which they represent. Now, without wasting any time, I'll quickly hand it over the stage to Brett to drive this panel discussion. Over to you, Brett.
Arvind, thank you so much. And panelists, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you spending an hour with us on a great topic around transforming insurance claims and generative AI. Also, thank you to the attendees for participating and attending today. You're in for a good treat. Attendees, feel free, please, to submit Q&A. We'll have Q&A throughout the session as well as towards the end. We'll try to work your questions in as we're live here going through the various topics. So submit those and we'll start to field those as we work through the session today. Why don't we go ahead and jump in and get started? And Srini, I'll start with you. Let's just kind of lay the groundwork on kind of how Gen AI will impact insurance processes and specifically on claims and claims management.
Thank you, Brett. First of all, thanks AI CoreSpot team for engaging me for this webinar along with the industry leaders. If you can split AI into different phases as like foundational, generative, and then purposeful. Over the last 1 decade, already the foundational aspects like natural language processing, computer vision, machine learning, all of that have been built. Now we are in the generative AI phase where it is expected for the AI to process vast amount of information that's available and asking it to generate the useful output. Like, it could be code, it could be process flow identification, or collating data from various sources to, derive probabilistic decision making or fraud detection, right? And the next step, in case if you want to consider it like that, the purposeful AI would be where we expect or we can expect AI to operate independently and then effectively under the guidelines defined by humans and then the guardrails accordingly, right? So coming to the insurance value chain itself, right from product development into policy management or claims processing, it's a complicated process, right? The complex nature of tasks like underwriting, risk assessment, claims processing, right? So all these have posed a challenge for insurance companies for a longer period, right? So because of this, the insurance industry has always dependent on human expertise or manual processes to handle some of these things. But with the invent of advanced technologies like particularly Gen AI, along with other cutting edge technologies, has definitely opened up new possibilities to transform or streamline the insurance processes in general, right? For example, some of the use cases where Gen AI can help is data augmentation, where you don't have too much of large volume of data for training your models. Gen AI can help to synthesize the data. And then other areas like generating the marketing material, policy documentation or fraud detection, customer profiling, and definitely the topic of today's discussion, claims processing, right? In the claims arena, Gen AI for sure emerges as a promising solution, not only for streamlining the operations, but also, improving the personalized services. Right? Gen AI in combination with ML, NLP, and then other technologies for sure help in enhancing the customer experience and then accuracy and the efficiencies of claims processing.
Absolutely. I think you hit on on a big point there, right? How do you deliver a better customer experience? And how do we leverage these tools to streamline the processes on the back end and create that better experience for the customer? Thank you for that. Kamalesh, Gaja, anything to add to what Srini just covered?
Absolutely. So, sorry, Gaja, can I go next?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Good morning. So I'll just try to elaborate on what I think Srinivas you were saying, right? Let's reset ourselves a bit. What truly is Gen AI? If you just put in the simple words, it's a massive search engine which gets you whatever data is in the internet, gets you in front of you, right? In understandable language that we all can understand, not much that technical, right? Where I think the value it will bring beyond the search is, of course, uh, think not of it as a point solution, but as a process, right? Let's look at the whole process and see what are the places it can utilize. And of course, put the right kind of guardrails. We don't want our data to go out in the internet. So
Yeah.
put it behind the firewall, right? Put the right kind of security. Because when you talk about the insurance claim, there are a lot of things that can go wrong. It's all PI, PHI data, SSN, the biggest one, and of course, all the regulations that industry has to go through. All needs to be considered when thinking about the claim solution or thinking about applying any Gen AI kind of solution to most of the regulated process, right? But let's look at it how it could. What I think it can be applied in overall claim processing. So if you think about the claim, there are three major areas, right? One is, of course, initiation. First notice of loss is what we call. Second is document ingestion and indexing. And third is, of course, fraud detection, right? So if you think about the first one, there are multiple ways we can think about using Gen AI. Of course, it's not a solution by itself. There always has to be a human in the loop, if you will. So whatever data is produced by Gen AI, somebody is reviewing it, making sure it's correct, and then pushing it to the next step. So first one is, of course, as soon as somebody wants to raise a claim, we can use Gen AI-enabled virtual assistant, if you will, or chatbot to collect the data, right? Go through the policy, what kind of policy you have, how much claim you can really do, all sort of things. And one of my colleague actually came up with an excellent idea. While you're asking question to, while chatbot is asking the question, we can actually start filling the form based upon that interaction. So it just creates the claim and pushes to the next step. That's one definitely very good idea that we can apply into the whole processing. Second is, of course, once we get the information, where the claim needs to go. Maybe you don't have enough information, so it should go to the call center who can call the customer back and get more information. Uh, Third and fourth is, of course, real-time communication and support. If customers have some issue, can't find the information, can't find the policy, we can go into the database and bring it in front of the customer. And personalized assistance while filing the claim, right? What kind of limits are applicable? What are the different documentation, doctor's report or medical report that are needed to really raise the claim? But those are the things that I think in the claim initiation part, Gen I can be absolutely wonderful help that we can offer to our customers. Does that help, Brian?
It does. Now,
Yeah.
and there's one thing I want to kind of highlight too, as you mentioned and talked about, right? So I think a lot of people feel like as some of these new technologies come in, including Gen AI, that it's going to take, it's going to take jobs away, right? Or it's going to replace them. And I think you hit a key point is that the intent is to leverage it to eliminate some of the redundant manual type processes. You're never going to completely eliminate or get rid of roles where you need the critical thinking or the individuals that need to come in. So it may reshape kind of the roles where individuals play a role, but at the end of the day, it's not like the technology is going to take over entirely and no longer are people going to be needed in these processes. So
Oh, you hit the
point.
bullseye. When I was growing up, there was computer coming in India. Everybody is thinking computers will take all the job. See where we are, right? It's making us more productive, more efficient, of course, creating a lot more jobs.
Absolutely. Very good. Maybe let's, Gaja, if we could kind of switch over to you and let's talk a little bit about some of the constraints and opportunities that transformation brings, and how that kind of ties into claims and those types of things. Let's spend a little bit of time on constraints and opportunities.
Yeah. So within this context of insurance, right? When you think of constraints, regulatory, it's a huge, there is a need for regulatory in this business, right? But when you come to actually generative AI, the regulators are, not caught up with the technology as fast as we want them to be. So when you think like a black box model, right? Most of this generative AI today, they are black box models. So they're not going to let you use a generative AI to make a claims decision. But you can actually use them as a chatbot, and again, like Srinivas and Kamlesh said, it can be used as an assistive, like a co-pilot type of situation where it can help your, claim examiner, customer service agents to be more productive, help the knowledge workers get to the answers quicker. So that's one place where you can see that. So from a constraint standpoint, there are places that you can apply, and there are places, because of the regulatory reasons, you won't be able to use these black box models. And honestly, the data also, there is a bias in the data. So which means, if you put an automation on top of bias, then you're going to actually, 10x that bias. So that there is an aspect of, how to make sure that there is no bias in the inherent data that is used to train these models. So that way, we can be more, more fair, claims processes. And then the last bit is the AI ethics. When people talk about AI ethics, again, it actually, it stems from the bias in the data and also how people are using it. So that's another aspect where, the regulators are basically going to keep an eye out. And in today's world, this generative AI is a very dynamic market. So there is a lot of fly-by vendors. They don't have any proven models, but they sell it as the next big thing, next thing after the slice of bread, right? So you're gonna see a lot of these fly-by vendors come and go, and the customers and carriers, brokers, agents that are looking at solutions, they have to spend some time evaluating which vendor is the right vendor for their situation, and do the vendor really has a solution. And then the last bit is, I would say there is a lot of proprietary nature of work that is involved in a lot of these claims operations, insurance operations in general. It involves even the data has personally identifiable information. HIPAA data, when you think of health adjacent claims. Uh, so as your Kamlesh said, you cannot actually just put it in a public model and then directly use it. You have to actually use a more tenant-based solutions where the data doesn't leave your tenant. Like Azure, AWS, they all provide something similar to that. So you want to actually look at something like that. You cannot use directly Chat GPT, OpenAI models to actually train your HIPAA data, personal insurance, personal identifiable data. When you, on the flip side, these are the constraints. But when you look at the opportunities, there's a tons of opportunities, right? You can identify a claim pattern. The claims, every claim is unique, but also they have certain characteristics that are common between different claims. You don't need a knowledge worker to spend time identifying those patterns. So you could actually help, identify the patterns. Is this claim similar to the claims that have similar characteristics? Claim leakage and fraud. That's another one. So, if we all saw the Sora videos, some of these images that are produced, they're gonna get better and better. Uh, it's gonna, it's only a matter of time before a video or a picture generated from a generative AI, you cannot tell the difference between whether it's a real video or it is a generative video, right? If in a claim situation, somebody is sending a video of a burned down house or a claim situation, we're going to be at a point where we cannot tell if it is a generated video or it's a real video that of a burned down house. So which means, again, you use a generative AI to actually differentiate between the real videos and then generated video. And then when you look at the data itself, again, conversation scene was said, there is a lot of information buried in notes fields, free form fields, a lot of documents that are still not digitized yet. So, you could use the generative AI to actually unlock the data buried in this information. And then productivity for knowledge workers, we all said that. And then the other one I would say is English is the new programming language. Somebody said that, it's not Java, it's not Python, it's not C Sharp, it's not SQL. English is a new language. So you could use, build actually solutions, decent solutions using generative AI. Again, this is a co-pilot situation. This is not replacing programmers today. I cannot predict the future, but at least for today, I don't think it's going to replace the programmers or the testers. But you could actually help them 10x, right, improve their productivity. And then, legacy conversions. You have a lot of systems that are built for, decades ago. So you could help actually these type of code generation tools to actually convert them into a more modernizing platform. And personalized campaigns to the claimants, policy holders, or the leads. Those are the opportunities I see in the insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a great point too around the data. I think we all and we've talked about this before, and I think it's come up in previous webinars as well. Is you're only as good as the data, right? So good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out. So very good. Anything the rest of the group to add to that before we move on? Okay. Kamalesh, you touched briefly on claims initiation and AI-driven virtual assistants and chatbots. Do we want to spend a little more time dive into that and go a little deeper?
I think we covered the key points.
Okay.
Basically, how we can use Gen AI to really capture customers' intent, help them out through, and help them in the personalized service. I think the next important thing that we typically insurance company do a lot is once you have the claim, you need tons of documents. You need doctor's report, you need what policy the customer had, what's the illness, why we're asking for the claim, right? So it's important, and there's a huge manpower and manual effort that goes into indexing the documents, basically classifying the documents, routing it to the right people so they can confirm the veracity of the documents, and of course get the information inside the document. A lot of times they're images. Uh, so index them, capture them into some readable format, and eventually route it to different places. So that's another big area that I think we can use GenAI kind of solution, which can help, identify what is this form, right? The model is trained so much on this kind of forms, it knows, right? It's a claim form, maybe it's a doctor's report and things like so. Initial classification. Then, of course, we can apply OCR kind of solution, intelligent OCR, really, uh, to predict if something is not readable, if something is readable, what the customer has noted down, maybe handwritten, maybe pre-printed, right? So get the information from those documents and populate our claim processing system, which may be totally different. And also those have information, of course, as I said, I stress the point again, there has to be a human in the loop because you cannot just rely on this whole engine to give us accurately 100% information. So somebody has to review, but think about the effort we are saving in doing all the indexing or reading the document from inside. Those documents are sometimes 100 pages images. So see the amount of time we'll be spending on those. I think those are pretty big areas that can help. Couple of more things that GenAI, of course, advent of GenAI is helping is really what's the context of document, right? In the natural language, if somebody is saying driver license, why are they sharing a driver license with us, right? Is it they need to go back in history? Are they trying to verify their identity with us, or they're just sharing that with us so that we can store that information? So put the context, right? Understand the history, what has happened with this particular customer, so we can offer better services for this claimant, and then coming more and more. And of course, the whole process would be to learn from these interactions, right? Store the interactions, learn, and get better and better from there. Does that help, Brett?
It does. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, in addition to what Kamlesh said, especially while processing the claims, additional step could be for the insurance, especially the subrogation process, right? Gathering the enough evidences, documentation that is needed. So that's also where Gen AI for sure can come into picture, right? So whether the documentation is enough or are there any additional evidences needed even before sending it for subrogation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would
Srini,
also
maybe
add on to
let's stay with you.
the
Oh, go ahead.
aspect where, yeah, no, I would like
Go
to
ahead.
add on to the aspect where,
Yeah.
yeah, the intent of the interaction, right? So when an external party, whether it's a claimant or a broker, um, that's actually reaching out to an insurance carrier, the intent can be predicted based on, the information they provide in the initial, interaction, and that can help improve the experience for the person that actually, initiated the interaction, instead of actually sending them to an call tree in a voice situation. You could actually say, hey, okay, this person called because of this reason. This is a phone number that I know, and they reached out to us 2 days ago for this particular information. So we always talk about omni-channel and the challenges in actually creating that omni-channel interaction to be one persistent, containing the context within that omni-channel experience. So again, this is where Gen AI can actually help assist with that. So we can provide better customer service for the people that are actually initiating that interaction with them.
Absolutely. Great point. Okay. Srini, maybe let's focus and shift a little bit to some risks and preparation. What are some of the risks that folks should be thinking about when adopting generative AI, and then how should the business and IT teams prepare in that adoption?
Sure. See, one of the aspects that Kamlesh mentioned, and then also Gajad agreed, is the human in the loop, right? So when a claimant is going through the claims process, especially the initial stages, they are in a state of shock. Definitely, they need that empathized approach at the beginning, right? So bringing in Gen AI, making it more machine oriented, it should not take away that empathy factor away from this entire process. So it's very important for the insurers to make sure that that human factor is involved when you are insurers are interacting with the claimants at the beginning of the process, especially, and then also during the process. There is a human element when the claimant reaches out for be it status, be it for any other negotiations or any other suggestions. The insurer should make sure that the customer experience is taken care of. Using Gen AI should not take away that human factor or empathy factor from this entire process. If that happens, there is a risk of losing customers because of dissatisfaction. That's the primary aspect that I want to bring. Second one is like using while insurers will be able to use Gen AI for fraud detection through image recognition or video recognition. There would be a need for making sure that additional processes are implemented where the generated images are not provided as proofs or as evidence for their the claims, right? So insurers need to strengthen their defense through a combination of robust data analysis or any other analytics methodologies, collaborative data sharing, and then human expertise for sure. The other one is we already touched upon the customer data, customer confidentiality, right? So while we are using these models, we should make sure that the sensitive data, PII information is secured or safely stored. Definitely companies adopting Gen AI solutions will have to establish a mechanism or an environment where this information is stored and then handled very securely. And then also the bias. Gaja touched upon the bias. For sure, there is a risk of bias with usage of AI. So the insurers need to involve some manual processes to make, at least at the beginning of using these Gen AI models, that these results of Gen AI are not biased, either gender, race, religion, or for whatever reason. This is one of the risks that business and in IT will have to take care by putting a process in place. Now, while there is a fear factor, like will Gen AI take away my job, right? So as Kamlesh said, even this fear was there when the computers started coming in, but bringing in, taking confidence of employees while we are implementing this, while insurers are implementing Gen AI practices, like any other change, is very important, right? So bring them into confidence, explain them how it helps them to do better jobs than doing repeatable jobs that can be automated using Gen AI. And over a period of time, Gen AI should not be a replacement for insurance organizations, the IP or core knowledge itself. Rather, it should help insurers to, improve their processes, either in terms of speeding up the entire claims processing life cycle, or providing better customer experience. So these are some of the risks that insurers definitely will have to take care of.
Oh, absolutely. Raja, anything to add to that around just overall evolution and adoption?
Yeah, I would say, I agree with what both Kamlesh and Srinivas were saying. The couple things that I would say, when it comes to people, worry about job displacement, right? Yes, that as that fear exists, but the way I think about Gen AI is it's a tool, right? If you think of if we use only screwdrivers to actually put up the frames, it's gonna we are not building that many homes. But if you use a power tools, we build homes faster, right? So I think of Gen AI is like that. It's gonna actually increase the productivity for people, so we can do more and service our customers better, win more insurance business, whatever business you are in. It's there are going to be people that are companies that are going to adopt these tools and they're going to get ahead, and there are companies that are not adapting tools and they're going to be left behind. So the fear of the technology or advancement always exists. Like even Kamlesh said a while ago, right? These things do exist, but but we got to get over our fear and then embrace the tools, but in a safe way. Don't go blind. There is a concept of red teaming, right? You don't need to have a red teaming established for Gen AI, especially. And then it is still a human in the loop. It is a co-pilot. It is an assistive. It is not at the stage where you would actually put it in a fully automated fashion.
Absolutely. Srini, Kamalesh, anything else to add? And maybe we'll move on after this with any other thoughts around improvements or things that can be expected with the adoption of Gen AI?
I think I can add something, Brett, here.
Okay, great.
Basically, LLM, large language, right? Company works differently, right? There are some nuances that company has to go through, how they handle claim, how they're like some of the company focus a lot on relationship, right? Not the automated discussion. So that's where you have to use the Gen AI to create the IP that can help you in optimizing your process, of course, but maintaining the same kind of customer relationship or at least getting better on that one. And that's what I think will be the true differentiator as we use more and more Gen AI. That's one. Second, of course, I spoke about don't think in terms of point solution. Think about how it's going to help you in the process and use humans, use existing automation to make the right decisions and just don't go blindly by whatever Gen AI is saying. I hope that helps.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Back to you.
Anything else, guys, before we move on? Okay. It looks like we've got a question from the audience. Let's see if we can take this one now, and I'll open it up to the group to respond. But it looks like the audience is looking to hear about methodologies and methodology for estimating the value of AI use cases. Anyone want to take a first stab at that?
Yeah, I would say, this is kind of similar to any, project or opportunities where, you have an inception, you have a hypothesis of where this can be used, and then do the experimentation. The thing about use cases, or what I would caution is, we should go in an open mind that, we got to try these things, and there may not be an outcome. If you go, if you go in a mindset, right, I'm going to use generative AI and then I'm going to get like a 30% productivity. That actually, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, because you may not have the data you care to do the automation, or the type of interactions that you have is not actually conducive to do that. So at least to go with the mindset, this is an experimentation. We're going to try these things, and we may not get an outcome that actually may result in an automation or full-scale implementation, and that is fine. But that's how you should be able to do. And also the aspect I would also think about is do a lot of experimentations, not just don't put all your eggs in one basket. You should have multiple type of use cases that you want to think about, and then do all of those. One of them may actually be more successful and go to an implementation phase, and all the others may actually help you learn some aspects, but it may not be actually help you go into a full implementation. So that's my thought.
Great news. Anything else?
Excellent point, Gaja. And actually, we do in our company, we have established a practice called test and learn. So what it is doing is, okay, it can do, Gen AI can do a lot of things, but let's find out a couple of use cases and try it out. So don't just deal in hypothesis, right? Let's use the data, whatever we can, inside our firewall and try it out. Does it give the result, at least what you expect for? we're not committing any particular benefit at this point of time, but let's try it out, see what are the pitfalls that could be there, right? I talked about security, firewalls, and things like this. So those are real world things that we're looking while we're trying these Gen AI kind of solutions in our own org. And lot to learn. We've not implemented anything. Of course, as we learn, there'll be a lot of things that we need to put back into the solution before actually going live. But excellent point, Gaja. Thanks.
Yeah, if the question was more to do with more related to estimation for building the models itself, it depends on how complex your model and how much of experimentation you'll have to do. It's not a straightforward thing. Okay, now it takes so many hours, right? So it depends on various factors for estimation, like any other estimation scenarios.
Great point. No, good to get a few different views there, so appreciate that. Kamala, let's just maybe shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about fraud and fraud detection and some of the things there in that area where these tools and Gen AI can help and specific to the claim space.
Sure. So fraud detection is not new, but with Gen AI coming to the picture, it of course giving you much more leeway, how you can quickly detect fraud and at least find the pattern. 2, 3 things that come in the mind are, of course, see what data you have already within the company, use the data and like customer profiles, medical records, right? And try to find out the anomalies. That's the basic of any fraud detection, right? There may be some unusual billing patterns, right? The billing account was changed and some premium checks are coming from different places and so on. So looking at the data and figuring out some anomalies will definitely be a great help. The other one, of course, will be and people are using it a lot for quite a while, predictive modeling, right? You can use the historical data to develop some models that can help you understand whether a claim could be fraud. There's no way to make 100% sure, but at least give you a good indication this could be a fraud because of the behavior that claimant is showing, as well as whatever data we have. These two kind of come together to predict it may be fraudulent claim. So those are the two big items that I could think of while applying or thinking about fraud detection and claim. And this is a big area for most of the insurance company. Less in life insurance, more in short-term disability and long-term disability kind of plan, where it's much easier to get figure out the nexus between different health organizations and the claimant, right? So something called network analysis, right? You can figure out how the network and claimants are connected to each other, how the hospitals are connected to this particular claimant and doctor and so on. Something that's called network analysis. So that could be truly useful in figuring out the right kind of fraud.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add on to that, especially in a payment payer type situation. Like Amar said, you do get a lot of repetitive invoices. You get this, you get a certain documentation from the claimants, and then you reimburse for those services that was provided. So this is where establishing the pattern, and then a pattern for a similar type of situation. What happens for an population? You can do a population analysis, right? Again, all these things existed to year before generative AI came along. The predictive modeling, the analytics that are in place, but where this all fell to where this all actually didn't actually provide as much benefit is there's still a lot of information in those invoices that people send, and we have digitized the key aspects into our systems. But there's still a lot more left within those papers that were sent to us, and the context is lost. So now with generative AI, you can actually apply the context back into the data that you have captured, and that they unlock more information that you may have missed in the past. So again, doing at a scale. In the past, this is a human process. You get a claim and it's an invoice, and that claim is now flagged for fraud. And then you go back and then you review all these invoices, read through the paper, all those things, right? But instead now you can actually use these type of techniques and provide the context and maybe get better at actually focusing on the few ones that you need to focus on and to cut through the noise instead of sending flagging thousands invoices for claims fraud. You may be actually doing only 10, but the 10 is probably a lot more accurate than the sending 1,000 that actually gets the noise.
Yeah, that's a great point. It does feel like there's definitely an increase in volume from a claims perspective, right? And to your point, there's historically been a very manual process that obviously drags out the time, increase the cost. There's room for error and mistake. Whereas to your point, if you can leverage the technologies and Gen AI to do some of the legwork, and then if you find some patterns or whatnot, kick those out, and then allow the resources to come in and drill into those further and see if those are truly fraudulent cases or not. No, great points. Very good. Okay, let's maybe move on a little bit. Let's talk about carriers. And Gaja, I want to spend a little bit of time, right? So you've got your large carriers, you've got your smaller carriers. How can some of the smaller carriers, brokers, and agents kind of become more established and or upset some of the more established players leveraging technologies, right? Give them a little bit more of a level playing field.
Yeah, I think this is obviously identified within the industry itself, right? So because now with tools like this, it does actually, to your point, puts the underdogs in the similar footing as the more established players. Because now they can use tools like this to actually, get more productivity out of the people, and also generate more data and analyze more data. And an established carrier, they may have a huge department that can actually do these things. Instead, now you can create a lot of synthetic data that can simulate the things that you don't have, and then use that to augment the things that you have, and help that to compete in that space. If if you're a small carrier or again small or new ones, you also don't carry the legacy of the old systems. So which means suddenly now you have a edge against the established carrier that may have information locked in a mainframe system or in a very structured data format. And structured data formats, with all the things it is good at, which helps in a lot of analytics and predictive modeling and stuff like that. Where they really suck at is actually consuming all this unstructured data that is locked in these documents, right? But if you are starting today, you actually see the problem differently, right? Because you don't need to actually go and identify all these 50 data elements in this document. Instead, the whole document is important. So the whole document itself becomes a data. And applying the large language model, you can actually get a lot more information from this document rather than actually spending time analyzing what are the 5 things or 50 things that I need to extract out of this document. So that actually puts them in a better place, or at least puts them in a level playing field compared to the established players.
Makes them more competitive. No, absolutely. Kamala, Srini, anything to add to that? Any other thoughts or views on the competitive landscape?
No, I agree.
Okay.
I don't have any additional points there.
Yeah, no problem. Maybe let's shift gears a little bit too. Obviously, there's a lot that has to be done under your own roof, but let's maybe talk a little bit about third parties and how they play a role in information gathering, those kinds of things. Kamala, do you want to spend a little bit of time on that topic?
Third party are typically a couple of different kinds, right? One is the whole set of brokers that you do business with. That's one easier way to handle those, though. But I think the bigger problem is the places you need data from, right? Medical bureau, data file, and so many things. Some of them could be integrated, some of them cannot be. Uh, And of course, with combine that one with the 50, 60 document that you got from whole claim package, right? How do you make sense of all those? And that's the excellent area where Gen AI can help us, right? In synthesizing the information from all these documents, probably in seconds, go through all the documents, understand what are the data feeds it got from different providers, what were the notes from the brokers, what are the notes from the doctors, and synthesize all of them into more easy to read, easy to digest, comprehensive format that our claim processor can understand and take the action accordingly, right? If the question of course, they can go back and to the relevant document and figure out what's the right information. But I think that would be one great way. One of the things that we are trying to do is finding the reference, right? So if the tool or something like ChatGPT is telling me it got this information, it's giving me this response, you want to know where it got the response from, what document, what page. If there are multiple pages or multiple documents, give a link so we can go back and confirm, yeah, this is truly the case. So it helps us to do a couple of things. One, gives the build helps to build the trust in the system. That's one. Second is of course referenceability, right? In future, some point of time there's an audit, there's a compliance issue, we can go back. This is the answer we get. This is the document you're referring to. That builds excellent traceability into the whole process, and of course as we do more and more of that, customer will get a lot more trust in the process and systems.
Very good. Maybe we'll open this next one up to the group. I know we've touched on, adoption and challenges, risks, etc. Is there anything that we haven't covered? Are there other things that we should, with the time we've got left, make sure that we share with the group? And I'll just open that up to you guys, and we can kind of go around and kind of add to anything that we've already covered.
Yeah, so one of the aspects of
go on, Srinivas.
Yeah, I was saying we did touch upon briefly the regulatory aspects and then the explainability of the outputs of the Gen AI model, right? So that is going to be very important. As of now, I mean, I think Gaja touched upon that particular point at the beginning. Even though insurers are ready, both from a process perspective and a technology perspective, are regulators ready to accept the outputs that are given by the Gen AI, especially considering it as one of the black box, and then Gen AI doesn't give clear explanation as why those results are. I think that is going to be one of the challenges for the insurers. Either should they wait for the regulators to define the frameworks for using the Gen AI, or should they go ahead and then start using it? So it's going to be a catch-22 situation. Should we wait or should we proceed? That is one aspect. Second aspect is the infrastructure that is needed for running this Gen AI, right? How much the insurers are ready to spend to use these models. So that is one of the things. Is going to be interesting to see how insurers will catch up with that.
Yeah, I would add on to some of the gotchas that has evolved in this space in places where they have implemented tools like this. Because the Gen AI, they do hallucinate. We all know they actually sometimes make up stuff that doesn't exist. Recently, the Canadian Airlines, they had a chatbot. I couldn't actually confirm whether they use a generative AI or with just a chatbot. But what happened is somebody was trying to actually rebook a ticket due to some kind of, death situation in the family. So they went to the chatbot, and the chatbot actually waived the fee for them to rebook it. But they don't have policy to waive the fees. And then the person actually took the Canadian Airline to the court, and the actual court sided with the customer, saying that it is because the airlines use a chatbot, it is an official communication, right? So the response from the chatbot is deemed correct. In the sense, they have the airlines has to honor that commitment. So that opens up a new list, right? So we all said that, right? Human in the loop is important because of these reasons. because we cannot predict when it is going to actually hallucinate. And there is a car dealership that actually put a chatbot for their sales automation process. And obviously, people realized it was a generative AI. Even though they created the guardrails, they used some clever prompt engineering to make a deal to buy a Chevy truck for $1. Obviously, they did actually decline that. But the point is, these things do exist, especially in an insurance space. This becomes even more riskier to actually put a chatbot in front of customers to actually get, because all those communications ends up being a contractually binding communication. So there is an aspect of, how much you can actually put it in front of the public eye versus how much you can actually keep it in your wall. And again, helping your customer service agents, your claim examiners, your underwriters. I'm even predicting like Copilot is going to become a work. Like, Copilot obviously right now it's a Microsoft thing, but the Copilot actually it's going to become like a Google for search. You're going to have a lot of Copilot type things that's going to help people get more productive in whatever they do. So those are the type of aspects that, right out of the gate, I think in the near term adoption, that's where it actually stays. And then in future, it may actually evolve into fully automated, but, that's one challenge I would actually caution people on.
Oh, great examples. Thank you for that. It looks like we just had another question come in, so I'll read this one off and let you guys kind of chime in and weigh in here too. But we're looking at what are potential cost savings. That's going to be a tough one to respond to, right? And ROI associated with implementing Gen AI for insurance claims processing. Anyone want to kind of take a stab at that? I know there's a lot of variables that play into cost savings and ROI. So, and everyone's example's a little bit different. Situation's different.
It's kind of asking
Yeah,
us
I
the predictive model to really predict the cost. So I'd like to know. I think, go ahead, Sridhar. You want to go? Take that one?
Yeah,
Srinivas?
I was about to say, I don't think
Yeah.
we are at a stage yet to predict the cost savings, right? As you said, yes, we need to identify the specific scenarios where this can be used effectively and efficiently, and also it's difficult to predict. Is it 20%, 25%, or what, right? So definitely, we can't. If you take customer experience as one of the vast benefit of Gen AI, you can't associate a cost savings to or a cost to a customer satisfaction index and all. However, I think we are at least few months away to reach a stage where we can predict the savings accurately in terms of percentages for sure. That's my view.
Yeah, I would agree with both Kamlesh and Srinivas. At this point, I wouldn't start any Gen AI project with cost savings and ROI to begin with. I am still within the mindset of do experimentations and then, scale when it actually becomes useful. This is not something that I will associate cost savings yet.
Okay.
But on the flip side, I would say, the experimentations are cheaper, right? So if you have to build a predictive modeling, look at the time and effort to actually build a predictive model based on the information that you have. But this can actually help you create a predictive modeling, a lot cheaper, I would think. But also, it depends on the data that you have, depends on your situation, which part of your processing in your insurance operations that you're trying to automate. There's a lot involved in actually answering that question.
It has to be customized to your needs. I mean, you cannot just pick up from the market and start using it. It has to be on your IP, your data, then only it makes sense to you.
Yep.
Absolutely. As we wind things down, maybe the last topic to cover here, we touched on it earlier, right? Obviously, as the technologies come in, and including Gen AI, it kind of changes processes and roles that people play. Within that, maybe let's talk a little bit about just knowledge management, training, adjacent skills, how we kind of move people across the value chain, leverage the technology to make individuals more productive, and then how does kind of knowledge management and training kind of play into that? Maybe Gajan will start with you and then let the group kind of weigh in, and we'll kind of wrap things up for the day.
Well, yeah. So I'd say, I've worked in multiple enterprises. No enterprise is unique in this situation where there's a lot of institutional knowledge buried in a lot of documentation, but it's hard to actually put a knowledge management system around it, at least up until now. Companies have SharePoint, Confluence. These are all basically provides a link to a place, and the way you know is because you created a bookmark at some point, or you use it often enough that you remember it. I have at times actually created documentation that I put in some knowledge management system, and I couldn't actually find it. I authored it, right? So those challenges can actually be solved when you have this generative AI co-pilots, because now they can actually make a sense out of it. You just need to actually go and ask those questions, and then it can find the document for you, as long as, again, as long as you have something that is within your walls where it can actually go and search and find the document. It will still respect all the access controls to this document. So if I'm not supposed to see a particular document, it won't show that to me. But it actually, be able to actually crawl and get this information in a more reasonable way. And you don't need to now figure out a taxonomy, how do you organize, how do you keep it up to date, and all those things. So, this actually it has potential to solve in that space. And then second thing I would say is, people that have adjacent skills or transferable skills. I've been experimenting with ChatGPT in the past 2 weeks. I haven't done React application in a long time, but I wanted to actually just do a React app just to kind of like figure out a few things that I'm doing for my hobby stuff. So I pretty much built an React application using ChatGPT, asking questions. I set the context of what I want to do. I said, treat me as a new dev that joined your team. I have skills, but I don't have React skills. So now help me understand pretend you are the senior dev in the team, and this is what I need to do. Now give me one step at a time, explain me each step along the way. Again, it obviously, there are places where it hallucinated, but again, because I have the context behind it, I knew when it was hallucinating, and I was able to actually reject those answers. But, I got far along actually building this React application. And without ChatGPT, would I done it? Yeah, probably. I can still do that, but I don't think I would have gotten as far as where I am today if I just use Stack Overflow, Google and stuff like that. Those all exist. Obviously that is where it pulled all the information from, but it actually had the right context to actually give me the information at the times when I needed it. So that's another example, like, whether you want an claims examiner to be an underwriter, so you can, they have adjacent skills, you can actually train them. Or a person that actually worked in an property casualty insurance, and then they are going into an, disability insurance, right? Yeah, they have insurance knowledge, but they don't have the disability insurance specific knowledge, but they understand the operations, right? So, these are the places where it can help accelerate, close the knowledge gap for the knowledge workers, so they can become more productive. I hope in future, an onboarding and training an associate to become productive would be faster when you use tools like this instead of actually sending them, 100-page manuals.
Very good. Thank you for that. I think we've got a little bit of time left. I've seen a couple more questions come in. So let's take this next one, and I'll open it up to the group. The question is, how does Gen AI integrate with other emerging technologies to enhance efficiency and accuracy of claims processing? Anyone want to take a stab at that? I think, Kevin, you kind of started to touch on that when you talked about leveraging Chat GPT and others. Does anyone want to elaborate on that question? Take that one.
Yeah, I think Kamlesh had touched upon while answering one of the things, right? Gen AI can integrate with OCR or image recognition technologies to read through the documentations and then generate the specific information that would help the claims adjusters to make the decision, for sure.
Yeah, great point. And then the final question, what are some of the potential future developments or enhancements in generative AI that could further revolutionize insurance claims processing? Any thoughts there?
I mean, we don't know the future, right? Especially since last 18 months, things have changed. I think so. Tech will keep on evolving. Where we need to focus is think of Gen AI or the kind of solution we build using Gen AI. We need to start shifting our mindset and treat them as one of our employees, if you will. Extreme, but think like that, right? It is a process is doing the work for you. So how do you monitor any regular employee? How you support and coach? The same mindset needs to be applied, right? You want to make sure it's not doing anything wrong. Somebody talked about hallucination, right? And getting some big gaff to when customers are trying to raise the claim. At the same time, you need to nurture it in the sense, make sure you're feeding it the right data. So it's giving the right kind of output, right? And then building the adaptiveness of your employee, teach your employee, you coach an employee, right? So make sure that you coach the tool also. So it's learning from its whatever the outcome is produced, learning from its mistakes, strengthening on the things that it is doing better. So I think the same approach needs to be applied to any solution that you build, either in claims or any place else using Gen AI or automation. Make sense?
Very good. Any last minute comments, takeaways from the group? Okay. Well, panelists, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great discussion. Appreciate you taking the time out and joining us. Attendees as well, thank you so much. Arvind, Nitin, I'll turn it back over to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Brett, for being a fantastic moderator. And big thanks to Kamlesh, Gaja, and Srinivas for sharing your valuable insights, making this session so informative. So we trust that this webinar has equipped our audience with deeper understanding of generative AI in the insurance client. So before we conclude, I would like to thank our community partners, speakers, and the attendees for enriching knowledge through this forum. Our panel speakers have shared insightful thoughts, making this webinar a valuable experience. For your information, today's webinar was broadcasted live in our YouTube channel, and the recording will be made available shortly. So also please visit our website aicospot.io and follow our social media handles for updates on upcoming knowledge sharing sessions that will expand your horizon. Also, we would like to thank our knowledge and innovation partner, Information and Technology partner, Digit7, for their contribution towards making this webinar a huge success. To learn more about Information and their work in technological advancements, please visit their website, infovision.com. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for joining this webinar. Have a fantastic day.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
everyone.
Have a great rest of
Thank
your
you.
day.
Have a great day.
Yep.
The webinar has ended. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.